Hey guys! Today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review of When I Am King by Mathias L. Magnussen. This is an adult novel and it's kind of based around a cult. This book was sent to me for review by the author. For starters, for me this was a 3-star book, and in case you're not familiar with my rating system, 3 stars for me is like a good rating. It just means that I enjoyed the book to an extent, but there were kind of an equal number of problems I had with it to the amount that I enjoyed it. So it's not one of my favorites or anything, but it was definitely an enjoyable read. The religion in this book is somewhat inspired by Scientology. Scientology, if it's not something you're familiar with, is a lot based around like therapy of the individual and working with someone who's trained to help sort of like work through emotional like traumas and things from your past. And the idea is that if you work through those things, then you'll get to like a higher level of enlightenment. This story follows a young man called William who follows this religion. He receives an invitation from the founder to go live at like the headquarters, I guess, of this religion, which is actually based in Africa. So he decides to pack up, you know, his life, give up everything to move overseas to go see what it's like to live among the people that are like most dedicated to this religion, and to meet the founder and to get to know him. But the founder, who is an older guy called Wilbur, is completely not what William was expecting. The concept is just so interesting to me. The fact that it is like an invented religion that this author has made up, I think is really cool, and it is a way of exploring religious ideas and cults and things like that without targeting like one specific religion. And just the idea of someone like packing up their whole life and going to live in a cult is super interesting, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that. I think that's just a really fascinating like base for a story. I love anything as well that explores people's belief systems and like why they do the things that they do and how they, you know, what they think the purpose of life is and things like that. I just find that whole thing really interesting. The characters in this book who have been invited to go live in this cult are kind of already at like the higher levels of immersion in this religion. They're already in it. Like, it's not them getting inducted and slowly, you know, starting to believe in it and then giving up their life. It's like they're already at the point where they would throw away everything for this religion. You kind of do hear a little bit about how they first heard about it and how they first got involved in that kind of thing, but not like the psychological like progression. The transition is more them realizing that this isn't what they thought it was and kind of detaching themselves from it in a way. So I think that's an interesting like take on the cult story as well. You start off with a lot of people who are really excited to be there and really just willing to like do anything for this cult, and then slowly starting to like want to take a step back because it wasn't what they thought, and Wilbur wasn't who they thought he was really. A really strong point in this story for me was the characterization of William and of Wilbur, so the young man that this book follows, and of Wilbur, the founder of the religion. There's kind of like an ongoing, I don't know if you'd call it a joke, but like this ongoing thing that made me giggle a little bit, which is where William never has his own cigarettes. He's always borrowing them from someone else, and I just think that was a really like amusing thing to continue throughout the whole story. The first time it happened I didn't really think anything of it, and the second time I was like, this guy is always smoking other people's cigarettes, and it was just an ongoing trend through the whole book. I just thought that was quite a clever little like characterization of William. Just those subtle things can make a huge difference in someone's character. And Wilbur was probably my favorite character. He was a really big like personality. He was this really charismatic person, as you can imagine. For someone who started a cult, you have to be quite charismatic to convince people to follow with your crazy ideas, and you start off seeing that idealized version of him, charismatic and really intellectual, really smart, really level-headed, and a really strong leader. And then you see the reality of who Wilbur really is, like behind all the smokescreen kind of thing, and he's actually like he's kind of a maniac, to be honest. In terms of the storytelling, we begin at the end kind of, and then it goes back through to like how we got to this point. So it starts with Wilbur's death, which is not a spoiler because it's on like the very first page. From the very beginning there's like this incredible juxtaposition between Wilbur being this really like pompous sort of character, contrasted with this really totally undignified death. All of the issues that I have with this book stem purely from the actual writing. I think just because it's a self-published book, we need to acknowledge the fact that a publishing company like Penguin or something has like a gigantic team of professionals who are qualified, experienced, you know, paid for the work that they do, and there are like standards they have to meet and that kind of thing, and authors get like a lot of development with their work through that process, I think. So somewhat inevitably with self-published works, you end up with some issues. This one in particular had a lot of issues with punctuation not being used correctly, especially with dialogue. Mathias is a Danish author. I'm not sure whether English is his first language. I would assume not, but in saying that, I don't know. But there were some issues that make me think that is the case, because there were a lot of homonyms that were mixed up, so like words that sound alike but aren't the same word, like they mean completely different things, being used in the place of the word that it's meant to be. The example off the top of my head that was used repeatedly the first time, I thought it might be a spelling error, but then it continued throughout the book, was using ropes instead of robes, like robes that you wear. The word ropes was used instead, so just there were a lot of words like that that were just incorrect, which my mind can like autocorrect that, but it is kind of annoying. The writing itself, there were some passages that were excellent, and I could tell they'd been really focused on and really worked and developed to be what they were. They were just really great, but that was only a few passages. The rest of the book was kind of lacking. I thought it could use some refinement, like there were certain parts of it that I think didn't really need to be there. Some sentences could be cut and things like that, but at the same time there were other things that really needed fleshing out and developing more. As you can see, it's quite a short book, and I think it probably could have been longer if certain things were like better developed. And yeah, just things like that obviously take time and experience. I believe this is Mathias's first book. It's just not the same quality as a published book that I would buy in a bookstore. I just think it's not of the same like caliber, so it is kind of hard to rate the book, because I think the concept and the characters and everything are really there, but the actual writing just needs work. I think it kind of just reads like a draft. But in saying that, I commend the author for having written an entire book. I know a lot of work would have gone into it, and it's such an interesting concept and really cool characters, and I just think with like further support and further work and development, I think he'll go on to do really great things. I'm gonna link to the website where you can purchase this from. I'll also link it on Goodreads, and I'll link the author's Facebook page as well if you want to check out more about him. It was a fun book to read for sure, and I think the concept and the characters were really fantastic. So I'd like to thank the author again for sending it to me for a review, and yeah, that's it for this video. I am currently uploading 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday and Friday, so if you want to see more videos from me, subscribe if you like. You can also follow me on Goodreads to keep up with, friend me on Goodreads. I always say follow, but I mean friend me please, so I can see what you're reading as well. And follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you like as well. All of that is always linked in the information bar below, and I'll see you guys with another video in a couple days. Bye.